Welcome to the Ugly Ear podcast. This is John here.
What up, boys? Nate Melodzik.
This is Antoine Pugh.
And we are a combat sports podcast. We like to get into it right here with a little bit of an intro. Nate, why don't you start out?
Well, I'm Nate Melodzik. I'm originally from Oak Creek, Wisconsin. I wrestled 4 seasons for the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I currently coach youth and high school wrestling at Askren Wrestling Academy, and I also coached for Waterford Union High School here in Wisconsin as well.
Antoine, you want to go last, or?
Yeah, I'll go last.
All right. My name's John Broughton. I film wrestling and MMA for my job, so I get to go to a lot of cool events and see a lot of cool things. Film at every level of wrestling, from Little League and college and high school to the world team and world championships and stuff like that. So I think I've got an interesting perspective, kind of being a fly on the wall in some of the coolest wrestling rooms and high level wrestling tournaments in the world. I also wrestled at Whitewater with Nate. Represent you, dub. And I run the Wrestling Jokes Instagram page. If anybody knows about that, cool. Slowly dying, but
She's still there.
She's still there. Most followed with the least amount of effort into it. And then I also got to follow Ben Askren around. I actually ran his vlogs and did those. So again, being a fly on the wall for some really cool experiences.
And you're his wrestling coach.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben didn't know what else to say when everyone was being introduced. So he said, Gerald is like, oh, he fights in the UFC, high level fighter. And he goes, Jordan Newman, 2-time national champ. And then he goes to me and he goes, and my wrestling coach, John. Oh, man, that was hilarious. All right, Antoine, you're up.
All right, yep. So my name is Antoine. I'm a 2-time All-American, 2-time academic All-American. I was a national finalist about, 2 years ago? Well, yeah, last year, going on 2 years now.
2 years ago, yeah.
Very
2020 season.
Yeah, very controversial, I should say. But I would say, I was a transfer as well, so I had a chance to wrestle a lot of like elite D1 guys too, like Mackie Lewis. I wrestled. He was everyone from Virginia Tech. He was national champ. I had a chance to wrestle to a D2 national champ from Ashland, Brett Romazak, and then I should be a national champ, but I wrestled a lot of national champs too on D3. So I got a chance to really wrestle, all 3 levels and see what everyone's about, and have a successful career for my own too. So so that's a little bit about me.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about this podcast and what we want this podcast to be. It's called Ugly Ear. We want to cover all combat sports. If I could talk, pretty much anything that'll give you cauliflower ear, right?
Ergo the name.
Yeah.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu, MMA, wrestling. Obviously, we're all wrestlers, and we all are big MMA fans. But getting into boxing and all kinds of stuff, and basically just talking all combat sports on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, going along with that, we're just seeing combat sports these days continue to become more popular. Just like going and seeing national tournament over the last how many years, we're just seeing the increase in people, the increase in fan base, and the popularity of just combat sports in general. And I think like what combat sports bring is such a small, tight-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. Like we can all think about going to tournaments in high school and just walking around the tournaments, knowing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we're trying to bring here and bring to life with this podcast, is just growing all sports and, continuing to
connect the different worlds.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm really excited for some of the guests that we have coming on. I'm really excited to talk to these guys and break down their experiences and get in depth with all these conversations.
Absolutely.
Right. It's gonna be huge.
Yeah,
it's just cool just seeing too. Yeah, I was gonna say just like it's amazing to see like right now that like us being in this era right now with the generational gap. So we're seeing like a lot of legends that we look up to, retiring, entering the Hall of Fame, but then we see a lot of newcomers coming in, and there's instances where we're even seeing like idols become rivals. You know what I mean? So it's a real exciting. And I mean, we're talking about this on MMA. We're seeing this
all
like in boxing. We're
platforms.
seeing this a little bit everywhere. So it's a real exciting time to be covering sports too, combat sports in general.
100%.
There's
And
a
today we're gonna break down the 249 card of the UFC,
Yeah,
which
what a bunch of fights, man. That
oh
was
my goodness, we've
insane.
been
Right.
dying for sports, man. With this quarantine, I need a haircut, but I really need
Right.
sports back.
Yeah, no shit, dude. Hats off to
Right.
the UFC and their
Well,
staff for
Dana
being
White's
able
the
to
real
figure it out.
MVP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, the main event. Do you guys want to start there?
All right, why don't we start from the bottom of the card, cover that
Yeah,
That's a
we could
better
start
idea.
there.
I think one big fight that stood out right away on the undercard, the prelims, was Vicente Luque and Nico Price. Man,
Mm-hmm.
those two were getting after it, throwing hard hands, and
That was a
I don't know
great
if you guys
fight.
saw the picture of Nico Price's eye, but that,
It wasn't
that
pretty.
was not pretty. No, a lot of good stand up going on in that fight.
Nico's an exciting fighter. The last couple times I've watched him fight, it's always gone crazy one way or crazy the other way. But I think that he's definitely fun to watch no matter what.
Oh yeah.
The other one,
Yeah.
we going.
We had,
Listeners.
I think the next one I had was Olenek and Werdum, former
that was
heavyweight
another good
champ.
one.
Obviously, it's been
Yeah,
a
He's
little minute since he's been in the cage too.
they were both 42. They were old guys, but they were throwing down.
right.
But
I thought Werdum was gonna get him on the ground once they got to the ground. I thought Werdum was gonna submit him.
seriously, yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
Olenek did a good job of avoiding that.
he really did, and I really thought we were going to see a lot more of those two rolling around on the ground.
Yeah, he
And
did
that
a
was a
good job.
really close fight too. I mean, that was
Yeah,
a split decision too. I think one of the
Mhm.
judges had it going as a draw for 28-28.
Mhm.
hmm
So it was actually a really close fight though. So
I'm just still surprised that Verdum didn't use his ground game a little bit more. He's pretty lethal with a bunch of submissions, as we've seen.
Yeah,
You can go look at his highlights.
absolutely. He's
right.
lethal on the ground for sure. And
Yeah,
Olenek probably knew that going in, and um, knew that he had to outstrike him before the before the onslaught came on.
right.
DC was talking about it too. He's like it doesn't seem like he's as good as he is on the ground, but his pressure on top is very elite.
I mean, let's talk about that atmosphere too of that card. I mean, it was weird just watching. I can't imagine how it was for those guys competing, but just having it dead silent in there, being able to hear the coaches on TV. Like, I think it was even Greg Hardy who was like in the middle of his fight. He was talking about how he could hear Daniel Cormier telling him something. He made an
Coaching him.
adjustment. Yeah, I made an adjustment mid fight, and it's like, dude, that's wild.
Yeah, that is
Right.
crazy. I liked what Gaethje said about it too. He said that he's like it didn't affect me at all. He said this in the press conference. He's like it didn't affect me at all. I can only control what I can control, and I can't control the fans. So
True that.
I think it would definitely be more exciting that the crowd would have been going crazy in a lot of those
Oh,
fights,
yeah.
especially the
Right.
last one.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting, but like the commentator said, I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
glad to see that the sports are back, and I'll watch another fight. Even if it doesn't have fans.
Definitely.
Right.
Living in a new normal.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
I'd say the next big fight we had on there was Pettis and Cowboy.
Very
Oh
Man,
controversial.
what a fight! Yeah, what a fight that was.
boy.
Definitely some controversy in there. I'll tell you that,
Nate thinks Cowboy won.
dude.
I-
Anthony Pettis even kind of like after he got announced that he won.
He
like,
did look surprised,
Yeah,
didn't he?
come on, man, come on.
Yeah, he looked
I think
surprised for sure.
I think it was because that Cerrone wasn't able to hurt him enough on the ground, and that since like Pettis, like even though like Cerrone was more of the aggressor, I think the fact that since he wasn't able to to hurt him enough, you know what I mean, and that Pettis was able, I think towards the end of the fight, use the cage more to get out quickly and counter strike and stuff and land more significant strikes is why it
Right.
went
Well,
the way it did.
Cowboy had the takedowns, right? And
He had multiple. There was multiple
Right.
takedowns in there.
it's interesting right now. MMA doesn't seem to care about takedowns as much as they used to,
Yeah.
and as much as
Right.
maybe they should.
Well,
We were talking about how UL could have had more fights go his way if they counted takedowns as more than they do.
And I think it's like now that we're starting to have referees who are from all different backgrounds, I guess it kind of depends on the kind of person you have calling your fight. Because I mean, I think distinctly back to GSP and
Judges, too.
Hendricks, and that fifth round, George got that takedown in the fifth round. Honestly, I think that's one of the fight.
Yeah, and then we talk about fights like Reyes and Jones, where Jones is saying, "Yeah, I think the difference was the takedowns." You know what I mean? but Reyes outstruck him, right?
Yeah,
So then we go, okay, it's the takedowns. That's why they gave it to John Jones. But then in
definitely.
this one, I think Pettis won the fight. I do. But in this one, we're talking about, or Yoel's fights, we're talking about, the takedowns don't really matter and they weren't really counted. So, I mean, is it a difference of judging? It's very confusing to me. I wish they would
Right.
have a
I
clear
think too,
cut.
like when we watch like elite takedown artists, like when we watch Khabib, right, and we
Hmm.
see just how Khabib is now, like when we see guys just take someone down and then just maul them, right? They're
Right.
dominant, they're in control. I think that's what factors a little bit more to where like when you have
Keeping
those
him
tight
down.
fights like Pettis and Cerrone, right? When you have those tight fights where they're going back and forth, these kind of get up a little bit quick, you know what I mean? He's landing, then he's getting took back down, but he's still like in control.
Hmm.
That I think that's where it tends to be. But I do feel like the UFC needs to go back to. I feel like a takedown, taking anyone down, should be worth a lot more points than someone landing a head kick. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or like a
Yeah,
leg
hundred
check. You know
percent.
what I mean?
Well, I've seen
So
like where guys will get struck or get kicked in the head and they'll get taken down, but they get up right away. And like obviously, I think a takedown should be probably less more if you're not holding them down as longer. But I mean, takedowns are that's a difference in a fight a lot of the times. If someone can't wrestle, that's big.
Well, yeah, and
right,
the other thing is like if we're gonna game, like if you're talking about a 3 round fight where a finish doesn't come, right? So you're playing, okay, how many points were scored in as far as damage, significant strikes. I think takedowns definitely account to that, right? So like Yoel against
Costa
Costa, great example.
right,
At the very end of the period, Yoel takes Costa down, and it's like,
inside trip. It's
oh,
not just like a simple double or single
oh no, no,
either.
I'm talking about the double.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, the double at the very end of I think it was the second round, and I was like, oh, that was so smart. Like, I was like, that was so smart because then he finishes the period on top, right? He gets the takedown in the cards, but he doesn't do anything with it because it's at the very end.
mhm.
But it's kind of like gaming, right? I don't know. I think that should definitely count because you're still taking the person down, right? And the other person doesn't want to get taken
Right?
down.
Yeah. No,
It's
right,
not like
exactly.
they're pulling guard.
Hundred
So
percent. I think another
right.
too you just kind of like said on was talking about the damage. I mean, I feel like in that fight, I feel like Romero when you looked at both their faces after that fight. I mean, who do you think won?
dude,
Or like Dan Henderson too and
yeah,
Michael Bisping. Look at Michael Bisping's face at the end of that fight, and Henderson still lost it. I mean, it should be damage should definitely be taken into the equation
yeah.
of who wins that
Right.
fight.
It is harder to see. I mean, Yoel is got darker skin. Does that play in with the bruising at all? I don't know. But he's also like steel. Like people say that it's like he's like hitting actual steel
Yeah,
when they
no,
punch him.
exactly.
Right.
Man, Yoel is crazy. I can't wait to watch him fight again.
Yeah,
All right, so
next, or I put a slight note on Greg Hardy, and he did look real good.
he
I
did
think that
he
was the
did use the
best.
inhaler this time.
Yeah,
He didn't
but
cheat.
talk about is just like continuing to evolve, dude. Taking a high level athlete and getting him to continue evolving.
Actually, check that he did cheat because he listened to Cormier.
Right, right,
Nate and I were talking about before the fight, like how is Greg Hardy going to bend the rules?
Right.
right. It always
Yeah,
just went some little way,
yeah, seriously. But you're right. He's an elite athlete. Pro Bowl, D end,
Yeah,
and
two
man,
different teams.
he's got power, and he gets better and better.
Yeah,
So credit
serious
to him.
athlete.
Right.
No,
It
definitely.
was nice seeing him just sticking what he knows best, and that's like behind his jab and making his opponents pay. You know, seeing that every opportunity. That's why he was able to pull it off. He won by unanimous
Get him to
decision
respect
too.
the power.
Right.
Yeah.
So he had a good strategy going in that fight. It was good. You know, just seeing him. You know, I think too. He's another one that's dealing with a lot of adversity. Outside of the ring. So it's nice
Hmm.
seeing guys getting their
Come in and
life
find
together. You know
success.
what I mean, and
Yeah,
stuff, and
hundred
winning.
percent.
definitely, definitely. After that, we had Jeremy Stevens and Cater. And who the fuck is that guy? Missing weight
Right.
by 4.5 pounds? Come
Antoine
on.
called it. Antoine said
Yeah.
Cater was going to pick him apart, and he was totally right.
Yeah, he really did. That fight was
Yeah,
not
Cater's
close, and he
serious,
was he
man.
was messed up.
That elbow to drop Stevens at the end was
Oh yeah,
Oh
that
my
was
god.
dirty.
yeah.
That
He
looked
had
I
like
think
Tony Ferguson threw it.
straight up.
I would say suspect Cater to be, maybe not this year, but pretty soon to be climbing above the rankings and making some
For
noise in
real.
that weight class, because he's a real technical fighter, and stuff.
Yeah, he really.
Great coaches. So
Yeah, clean strike combinations too, man. And he was quick about them, did them efficiently, and took them out quick.
And Stevens is good. I mean, Stevens is like a I'd say one of the more skilled fighters in that division,
Right.
and he freaking.
When he
I
knocks
mean, he's
people out, they
solid.
don't fucking move.
Right. I mean, he has power though. You know, what I mean, he has a. What was his record? He's what 28. How many knockouts does he have?
I think
Does anybody know?
I think he has the most knockouts in featherweight history.
He's got a
Yeah.
lot of fights too.
Yeah.
He's been fighting
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So that was a
and I
really
think
good
he's
one
been a
though.
career UFC guy. I think that he
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
hasn't spent any time in other organizations, and he has been here since the beginning of his career.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I guess to our next point on the card was just how fucking scary is Francis Ngannou?
Dude, DC wants nothing to do with him.
Dude,
Did you see
no way,
his-
man. I don't know who would want like a piece of him, dude. He's from freaking Wakanda. It's insane.
You can't say that.
Definitely, he's definitely a
Dude,
tank.
I'm serious though. He's
Needless to
literally like a
say.
superhero.
He is a superhero for
He's
sure.
insane, dude.
I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, he's on the juice. He's on the juice." Dude, I don't know. I've seen footage from him like when he was homeless, and he looks the exact same.
And that man trains.
Yeah, that man does train. Trains
Dude,
hard.
and
Well, it's funny. He wanted to go into boxing, and his coach told him that MMA was going to be a quicker way to make money for him.
yeah.
And I'm glad he did. I'm glad he went into MMA and not boxing. I think he'll eventually make the transition, though.
Oh yeah.
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 Seriously though, like ever since his loss to Stipe, we've just seen a new Francis Ngannou. I think his last 4 fights have all been ended in the first round. It's just like hard to deny that this guy should be fighting for a title.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. It's hard to deny it, but it's also, dude,
What is going on with Stipe and DC?
I don't know.
Right.
They need
Who's
to
not
figure
signing the
that out.
contract?
They need to figure that out. And it sounds like it's on Stipe's end, just the way that DC has made it sound.
Yeah.
But who knows what's going on, really? And so if DC and Stipe don't happen, what do they do with Francis? What do they do with Curtis Blades? There's a lot of
Tell John Jones to move up to heavyweight.
there's a lot of congestion at the top of the heavyweight division.
There really
Right.
is. There really is.
Well, there's a lot of room for promotion too. You know, what I mean, I think. Well, I just say this: I like to see a rematch between Stipe and Francis more than I would like to see a matchup with DC. You know, I mean, I think just simply put, they're both on their feet. They're both, Well, here's the thing too. I think it would be an interesting fight though for DC because we all know that DC is a great wrestler, right? And I don't think we haven't seen too much of Francis down on the ground too much. I mean, I think we did a little bit with Stipe, but we haven't really seen him down, get pressured. So
that's how Stipe
it would
beat
be
him.
interesting.
Was that he
And
took him down and gassed
Ngannou's
him.
not trying to go to the ground. He is
No.
trying to stay on
Right.
his feet as long as possible.
Right, and he's just trying to swing and connect with one of those power shots, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
Right.
Sketchy.
he holds the world record for
Strongest punch, right?
strongest punch,
Punch.
and I think it's once it gets going, fastest punch. Like
Really?
the most velocity behind it and the most power behind it. So, yeah, good luck getting hit with one of those things.
Yeah.
Dude, Rosenstrike took one, and it was done.
Oh, it was a good night.
It was, yeah,
Knees weren't weak. It was it.
boom. And I thought that was going to be a good fight. I mean, Rosenstrike's a good fighter.
The one
Knocked
thing too-
out Alistair, like, cleaned his clock.
It was, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting as well with the
I think
And
the
I mean,
scariest part
let's just say too, he's not knocking out like your average, like fighter.
No.
He's knocking out like guys on streaks
top
and a lot of
killers,
top
tier.
contenders. You know what I
King
mean?
Velasquez,
So
Dos Santos.
Yeah, which makes what Stipe did to him the first time even more impressive.
Impressive, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean Stipe's the only one who's beaten him so
He
far.
dismantled
Right.
him, just took him
And
down
I'll tell you this too,
control.
like I think what we saw too with that Stipe fight is that Francis, I think just because, not knocking him and, he's a knockout artist and stuff, but his conditioning to go a whole 5 rounds, right? So I guess that would be like the theme for who, like with DC or whoever happens in that title fight, if they're able to stretch him out for a whole 5, and how his cardio is. Not saying that he's not working on already, you know what I mean, and stuff, but
Right.
still,
You're definitely
we'll
gonna be
see.
getting a
Time
lot
will
more
tell,
tired
right?
with one of those guys on top of you on the ground than
Well,
you would be just
yeah.
staying on your feet.
Muscle takes more oxygen too. I mean, you guys know from wrestling those short, stocky guys, they gas out a little bit quicker just because muscle takes more oxygen.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it's not like I'm not saying Francis is going to gas out every time, right? But the
Right.
longer you go, the better you
The
are
pressure.
against those big, strong guys with one punch power.
And that's the thing too. It's like we've seen DC get dropped by Anthony Johnson that first fight.
Mm-hmm.
Where I kind of think it'd be the same kind of scenario if those two ever faced off at heavyweight. If you can
DC
get
would
past
definitely
that,
use his wrestling too.
Yeah,
You
can
guys
you
are
get
right
past
about
that initial blast and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we were just saying, I think we thought that was going to happen in the main event with Gaethje and Ferguson. The longer it goes, the more it benefits Ferguson. But Gaethje was still swinging.
Yeah, hey John, you called that on the money though, John. John,
We're almost there. We're almost
yeah,
there.
Yeah, we're almost there. All right, we'll do Cejudo Cruz
Okay.
first.
Yeah, let's go to our co-main event. Just what a fight. I mean, yeah,
That knee was beautiful.
it was. It
that
really
knee was
was.
picture perfect. You talk
And then
about perfect timing. It couldn't get any more perfect than that.
Yeah, we were talking about the way Henry trains
Nora Force One.
Yeah, if I could talk. And he does some unique stuff, and they're very into his nervous system and how he's working.
Training specifically for his body.
Yeah, and he looks like he's playing a Dave and Buster's game, but it helps with his reaction time,
Dude,
right?
yeah,
Right.
The lights on the wall.
100%.
But I think I actually think that knee probably showcased that training better than anything, because that was a really quick reaction to Dominic's movement.
Yeah, good counter.
Which is very unorthodox and all over the place and hard to
Right.
predict. And I think that knee was his reaction to just being calm, fluid, focused, and then
he was ready in that flurry, man. He
Right.
him and crowded him right
And
away.
I mean, despite people saying, "Oh well, the refs stopped the fight early and stuff," but at the same time, too, you have to take it. He was stunned. He was stunned for a while, and you're getting smothered. You know what I mean? So the ref he has a duty too. What did Dominic Cruz say? He said that he smelled like alcohol.
He's like the referee smelled like alcohol and cigarettes. It's like,
dude, he's
But
salty.
still,
He's a little salty.
he looked out for the safety of him. So I mean, regardless, you have to put yourself to you can't blame the ref because I'm in this position. You know what I mean, and stuff. The reaction time was a little bit slow. It was a nice strike, but
Well, that's a great point, and I think that
it is a great point.
as MMA,
people need to be more understanding of that the referee's doing his job to keep everybody safe too.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right, and as MMA wants to be regarded as a sport and not just the brutal fight that it is, right? I mean, it is a brutal fight, right? But as a sport, it's like, okay, we need rules, and one of the rules is if someone's taken a certain amount of unanswered shots, we're going to stop the fight.
Yeah,
right. That's not even like, oh, if we're fighting to the death, this would have happened or that would have happened. Like, as a sport in MMA, if you take a certain amount of shots unanswered and you're not showing defense or adjusting to position, I know he said he was getting up, right?
Yeah,
right.
But Henry is so good. He finished.
He was getting crowded, man.
He finished
Right.
Dillashaw the same way. That tight waist
Mhm.
and the over the top, right? Like he's riding a tight waist, right? And then you can't really do anything because he's got pressure on top of you, right? And you're just trying to block the shots, and he's just coming over the top. Henry's good at that, man.
Right.
That's
Henry is just good. Henry
I'll tell you
just
what,
as good as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, even I think when we get a chance to cover Bellator and stuff too, right? Like his training camp is ridiculous too. Like his partner's Patricio Pitbull, double title holder in Bellator. You know what I mean? So just his camp alone, I mean, and who he trains with, it's
his coach
ridiculous.
His
you know what I
coach.
mean? And the coaching, you know what I mean? So it's ridiculous, man. It's well deserved. It's sad to see though him retiring, though him making that announcement about retirement. I'll tell you that.
Fake news.
I don't know. I think he actually might be done.
You know what?
I think
they were going to shut down flyweight, and then Henry was like, "Let me save the flyweight." I think the man just needs a little more appreciation for how much he actually really does for the sport.
I don't know what he's getting paid, but it's probably not enough.
It is probably not enough. 100%.
Probably not enough, dude. He is so exciting to watch. We love him because he's a former wrestler.
But he's that good.
He's so good. And I think a bit at the beginning it was like, he's so cringy. Dude, he came into his own. I love his trash talking now. You see the videos where he's like
kicking the pillows of each other's heads.
Yeah, or he's like Jose Baldo and he's getting fanned by those two girls and he dives into his pool and he's like, your movie sucks.
We love him, man. We love him.
Dude,
Definitely,
he's great.
He's a legend,
man.
man.
It's not even cringy to me anymore. It's just awesome.
It's straight up so hard to sit there and make an argument that he's not probably the greatest combat sport athlete of all time.
It's hard to say. It's hard to find anyone above him.
Seriously.
Well, I mean, GSP as far as MMA goes, I don't think Henry is the best MMA fighter of all time. But combat sports as a whole, it would be it'd be success in multiple different sports, right? So maybe if Conor beat Floyd, he could be in that conversation, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I mean, he's done it in two different sports at the highest level, two different weight classes.
Right.
In the UFC, I mean, it's hard to say
defended both
anybody
titles
else.
as well.
Right.
It's hard to say anybody else.
And it's just he's the worst nightmare for anybody in 25 and 35. I mean, how do you beat him? He's short and stocky, closes range quickly. What are you going to take him down? Probably not. But
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's just the very best of the best.
He's explosive too, and I think that I think it's awesome we got to see GSP inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, yeah, that's huge, and it's well deserved. I mean, it's not even to me, it's not
Not
really
even
debatable why he shouldn't be.
George is
You
the
know,
GOAT. I mean,
Nate loves GSP,
dude. Yeah, I've been a long time George fan, no joke. But I mean, he's beaten everybody he's ever fought in the UFC. He's avenged every loss he's ever had. No failed drug tests. I mean, the guy is
which you wouldn't tell by looking
the
at him
living, walking
jacked.
definition of a mixed martial artist, though.
100%.
I definitely would want to see a GSP versus Khabib fight.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Great.
That would be beautiful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, especially because GSP's got the wrestling. You know,
and I think we're in such a day and age where everyone talks about making these big super fights and stuff like that. I wish George back in his heyday would have jumped up and fought Anderson at 85. Imagine the level that fight would have been at if that would have happened.
That would have been crazy. Maybe a catch weight, right? I mean,
yeah,
like something like that,
just to make it happen.
Right? Yeah, 100%. And if we can have all of these guys bumping up and trying to do two division champs.
Well, unfortunately, Bisping got on the short end of that one. George just came back out and said, "I'm just going to take an easy choke for the dub."
Yeah, that was
another
great.
Belt, break another all-time record.
Man, I like Bisping too, but that was
George is
good
a savage, man. So congrats to him on making it in there. But
Definitely
lastly, I think we closed out the card with Gaethje and Ferguson, man, and what a war that was.
Oh, that was crazy. I think I have to give a shout out to John because John was not giving up on Gaethje at all during the predictions. He had full hope.
Dude, I told you guys that he hits like a truck. That's the thing. Like if he didn't hit as hard as he does, and he was way smarter in this fight. Everyone's been saying this is the best version of Gaethje we've seen.
His game plan was perfectly executed, 100%.
But his power really kept Tony from pushing the pace, which I remember saying like, hey, Tony's going to push the pace. How is Gaethje going to handle that? Because he's going to be backing up and throwing heat. I don't know how he handles that. But he was able to land such power shots and good combinations, and he got the better of most exchanges. So he had Tony's respect. He couldn't get walked down by Tony. He had Tony backing up a lot of the fight.
Oh, he's definitely proved that he's ready for a championship fight. I mean, he even had to deal with some pretty strong adversity right there at the end of the second round when he got dropped by that uppercut.
Oh,
and it literally, the round literally ended right after that happened. But, dude, after that happened, the fight was all Gaethje.
Dude, I love his attitude, too. He gets better and better every fight, and he's talks about how his losses made him better. Dude, he's taking big jumps, and I love his attitude on everything.
I mean, Tony Ferguson has a broken orbital bone, and we got Chuck Liddell out here hitting up Dana White saying it was an early stoppage. And
dude,
I'm so
glad they stopped that fight.
No, it was getting bad. I mean, and then like you guys said, I think like we said before, before the show even started, is that Gaethje, I mean, it's a problem. Power is a problem. I mean, I think if you're able to hit hard, right, you're able to get someone's attention and you're able to pressure someone that fight and continue to keep that pressure forward, that's a recipe disaster for it. I don't care, whoever you're fighting. We know that Gaethje has a wrestling background, right? So it didn't really make a difference of what was coming. But what impressed me the most was that Gaethje wasn't really focused on the wrestling end of it, but his strikes were amazing. Throughout the whole fight. He was consistent, He wasn't really wasting any punches. And so
I think it'd be real cool to see Khabib and Gaethje match up and see how the grappling goes. Because I remember Gaethje was tweeting after Jordan and Ben wrestled. He was like, "Man, I wrestled Jordan Burroughs in college and broke my sternum with a blast double." and it was,
dude, because Gaethje's good at wrestling.
He's Northern Colorado's first All-American in program history.
Dude, he's good
out there.
100%. He's good at wrestling, and he's tough. I mean, Khabib is a different animal when it comes to wrestling, right? I mean, you're not gonna necessarily out wrestle him, but he is
the wrestler of this weight, though. You think about it.
Yeah,
right. I mean, he hasn't really faced another person who has that caliber.
I'll tell you this, like the question is too, like my biggest criticism with Khabib is like who has he fought that we know to be like a that
Really
has a
good
solid
wrestler.
wrestling background. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah, I
Like
mean he's dismantled a couple strikers. Poirier can wrestle, but he's not as credentialed,
But that's why
right?
like the George fight is
Gaethje
so appealing.
and
right,
is Gaethje's takedown defense, and is he good enough in the clinch to stop Khabib from taking him all the way to the ground? Because if he can keep it standing and all you have to deal with is Khabib's dirty boxing and it's staying on the feet, man, I like Gaethje's chances a
and
Oh, I
lot.
do too.
After watching what
right.
he did to
And I'll tell you what,
Tony,
he hits hard. He hits hard. So I think I know for a fact after watching what he did to Tony that he can definitely get Khabib's attention with
And Khabib definitely
with
eats shots.
strikes.
yeah, yeah, Khabib is hittable. I mean, Tony's very hittable, right? We were talking about that before the fights. Is Tony does get hit? He's just such a spray of offense that you're getting hit back.
Tony
Right,
didn't land as many elbows as I thought he was gonna at least try to
right,
attempt,
No,
you
he
know?
didn't get going with him.
Yeah.
right.
I don't know.
And shout out to Tony too for not making any excuses. Right, he took the L like a man and
Oh, he did. It
kept it
was
moving.
class
Right,
act after
definitely a class act. So, but my thing
that. So
is
I
this.
guess
So
oh
like,
yeah, go ahead.
so yeah, like my question is this: like, what now for the division, right? Like, I
McGregor.
feel like Gaethje, like we were talking about before, guys. Like, Gaethje has definitely shooken up the whole
He
155
really has, man. He
pound
really has. All
division.
talks of Tony and Khabib, the 5 times that it failed, it's not even gonna happen again. It's not even a thought anymore about
No,
that
he
because of this.
buried it.
Yeah,
Right.
He
literally.
buried it for
So my
sure.
thing is like, does this spark, maybe that rematch with him and Poirier, right, for the interim title? Where does McGregor fit in now, right, or does McGregor just stay up to welterweight? So
Well, what about if they match up? It'll be Khabib, Gaethje, and then they have a co-main event or something where it's like Poirier, McGregor, all 55. That way they're unifying the title, and that way they're finding the next contender for whoever wins the big fight. You know what I
right,
mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't hate to see that. I think the UFC they have to be a little they have to be a little careful with Connor. And I think they know that. You know what I mean? Because
Oh,
right,
they're
he
trying to
could lose.
maximize.
He's the biggest moneymaker for them, right? And they know
right,
that. And they're like by a huge amount, right? But they gotta look at the way that Gaethje just fought that fight and be like, dang, Gaethje could definitely beat Connor. Connor could definitely beat Gaethje, of course, but like,
There was no takedowns in that fight, though. Is he going to stay and stand and trade with Connor?
or is it?
Probably
Well,
not.
we don't know. We don't know, and but then we'll see what they do with Khabib because if Gaethje beats Khabib, if Khabib beats Gaethje, then they can be like, okay, now we're going to give it to Connor, right? And
right.
if Gaethje beats Khabib, then do you give Connor a title shot or do you give Khabib a rematch?
Well, what do they do then? Connor and Diaz fight a trilogy fight at 55, right?
Well, they're
If
Yeah,
the
I think they're
first two
more.
were
I
at
think
70, said third one's at 55.
did you,
I don't think they're going to make Diaz make
no, I don't
um
think so either.
They said
55. Do you
when
think
they're going
so?
to fight a third time, it would be at 55.
I think that
Yeah, I don't know, man.
the fight for Connor right now, I think at 170, as far as the money, where the money would be at would be for the BMF title with
With
Masvidal.
Masvidal.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Jorge, geez, that's a good point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype behind that. That's just a good money fight. That would be like
A straight stand up brawl.
yeah, it'd be like a Nate Connor one. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
literally,
Like
yeah.
there'd be hype
right.
100%.
around it. It'd be big. Um,
I still
of
think
course,
Connor would
Nate.
win though.
I
I
think
still
so. I
think,
think so.
It's hard to bet against
I think
Connor, dude.
so.
It is hard to bet against him. Dude, especially at 170. Like, is he better with that weight? I don't know because
He's
He
a
looks
prime
healthy.
55.
He looks
Nate's Nate's on like Nate's impossible to knock out. I feel like you can't turn his brain off. It's only half
Oh,
on.
he's been hit in the head so many times. Him and Nick,
Yeah,
they start having an interview together, and I'm like, all right, maybe I can only stand 5 minutes.
dude, he's so funny in interviews. Like you're like, what is he talking about?
What did he just say?
He's like, yeah, I feel like I just already beat all them. You know what I'm saying? Like I just already beat all them motherfuckers. You know? And you're like, what?
He'll whip out a CBD joint in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's a CBD joint. Okay, there's no weed in that joint.
It was.
Sure. Mm.
That's
No, I
funny.
think he's
Oh,
smoking chronic on the stage, and the UFC is like whatever.
I'm just
Oh
excited
my
to
god.
see what else happens though with the UFC from now. You know what I mean? I just feel like
I mean,
there's still so many more good fights coming up that they can make, you know what I mean? And let's
Yeah,
just hope that, everything goes according to plan, you know what I mean? With people staying clean, right? That people
yeah.
stay healthy and stuff and
I mean, there's a couple weight classes they just really need to get moving on. Like heavyweight needs to get moving again.
hmm
Light heavyweight needs to get moving weight again. And what about welterweight? I mean, Usman fought Woodley how long ago? When are we seeing another person jump in there for a title shot at Usman? And who is it going to
yeah,
right.
be? You know.
and
Well, he
yeah,
fought Covington, but like I think
yeah.
people are
When are
still
we gonna
waiting
see
for
him
more like
again?
And what?
I
And
feel like
you
there's
don't
gonna be a
even
rematch for
expect
that.
Masvidal in there.
No. What'd you say?
I feel like there's gonna be a rematch for Covington and Usman for some reason. I
That
don't know
was a
why.
really close fight. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
opposed for a rematch there.
I would like to see a rematch between Woodley and Usman because honestly, I think the last
yeah,
time we seen those two fight, I don't think we saw the best version of Woodley. I think he had a lot
at
of stuff in
all.
his personal stuff he was doing, and
No.
They
just
they
where
said
other
he, they
fights.
said he was too focused
Yeah.
on the music videos, man. That's why he was too focused
But
on the music videos.
Well,
promoting to make money, man.
I'll say this.
Can't blame him for
I
that.
can't
I
blame him
think
at all.
I don't blame him either. I think you need an out after fighting. When you defend your world title 5 times, you pretty much,
Exactly. Yeah.
Henry defended
Right,
his bantamweight title once, guys. He's like, "Yep, peace out. I'm retiring."
right,
Um, so I mean, I think that you definitely he needs an exit plan after fighting, and I think he's found that. But is he going to be? I think he needs to fight one more time before he gets that title shot again. So does he
Mm,
fight Covington, or does he get, or do they do the rematch
No,
with Covington? And
Tyron and Colby should fight.
yeah,
They've been throwing that idea around of fighting each other for about a
that'd be
year
a
and a half
great
now.
fight, dude. That'd be a great fight.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
And yeah.
Because they're like they seem like they're polar opposites, right? Like Woodley is one punch power, and he's real patient, and he's real, precise with what he's going to do, right?
Mm.
And then if he lands one of those overhands, you're like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
hell no! It's
ask
almost
Robbie. Ask
like
Robbie about that overhand.
exactly right. And
right,
then the opposite of that is Covington, where he's just going to throw a ton of shots, and they're all probably at 70% striking, but they're in your face and they're constant, and it keeps that pace going, and you're just like. You're also like, fuck this.
right.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
Both
let's see
mean?
got a
some.
wrestling background too, so I just feel like Covington would probably be more on the offensive end with takedowns compared to
I
Mhm.
was
Woodley.
just gonna
But
say that. I was gonna
Yeah.
say,
Whereas
where
Woodley's on the defensive end, he doesn't let Damian Maya take him down and beats him that way. It's that kind of thing.
no, definitely 23 takedowns stopped in
right,
one fight.
Yeah,
Jesus,
absolutely.
that was
right.
most boring fight.
I would also like to see 45 rematch Volkanovski and
Holloway.
Holloway because
Holloway, yeah, that was
Holloway is a great champion. Everyone was talking about him being the greatest featherweight of all time. Now he loses this close fight. Volkanovski obviously proved to us that he's elite, but I would love to see a rematch. I think that was close enough to warrant one.
Oh,
I
definitely.
agree.
But then,
Brian Ortega's also in that 45
Right.
class as
I love
well.
to see
yeah,
Ortega and a Holloway rematch too, man.
Yes, dude. That's what I'm saying.
I
yeah, I
love
would love
Brian
to see
Ortega,
that.
dude.
And then, dude, how about Zabit at 45? I need to see him fight again. I need to see. He's too exciting. He's like jumping off a cage. He went for more Showtime kicks than Pettis. I
No,
feel like
dude.
you know what I
He is good. He is
mean.
good.
He's good,
He's
and he's
real
got
good.
unorthodox, tricky striking. He's always doing the sexy shit. He's always spinning back fist, spinning at elbows. Yeah,
He's
he's
just got that length. He's got the right amount of lankiness to him at that weight class that's low enough. It makes him super lethal.
yeah
Right,
wrestling background too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
freestyle wrestling background, and another killer from Dagestan.
Yeah, straight up, dude.
right.
I
Most
don't know what they're
definitely.
feeding those guys over there.
I feel like it's Dagestan verse in the UFC.
The
Literally,
Russian
Verse
blood,
everyone.
man. The Russian blood, something else, man.
it's deep
They
over
were like,
there.
"What's in the water over there?" And so, I can't remember who said this, but they were like, "There is no water over there. They have to fight for the water."
Well, it's
That's
like
what makes
Either
it
that
good.
or vodka, man. Russian vodka.
Well, dude,
Dude,
I feel like it's like they have a choice in that in Dagestan. It's like, well, if you're not going to be a successful MMA fighter, you're going to be a world champion wrestler.
oh my God, Sagilayev,
Yeah.
dude. No, that's funny you say that, Antoine. When I was at the World Championships, I swear to God, I saw the Russian wrestling coaches slamming vodka in between in between the rounds. So they were literally going back to coach, and I'm like watching. I'm like, dude, they finished like a lot of
Oh,
vodka
they're
with
hyped.
lunch.
They're
And
hyped.
they're like slapping the guy and they're like, you do this now. I'm like, oh my
Dude,
God.
it's another breed, man. I can speak on
Yeah.
that because like my Russia side of my family, like the stories I've heard and stuff. Because I had a couple, I had like two cousins that were in the KGB, and then I had another cousin. My third cousin was the president of Russia, so I'm hearing a
Oh,
bunch of
dang.
crazy stories how they're out in the forest, and
Anton Putin.
hey,
Anton.
I said
Antoine Putin.
I said you must be crazy because they do like ice water baptisms over there too. So it's like
I
it's
have
just
seen that.
they're
Yeah.
another breed. They're another breed over
Like it's not cold enough in Russia. Let's get
Yeah.
some ice.
there. They're
Yeah,
another
dude.
breed. So
Oh
I
my
was
goodness.
like, stay away from the roids. I mean,
Oh, dude. Well,
There's so many good guys on their program though that just they need to be at the World Championships. You know what I mean?
right?
It's like
Oh, it's
how
a
can you have
fact.
like Sidakov and all?
well, you see these guys come in from like we had a medalist from France this year. The
Yeah.
bronze
Yeah,
medalist. Oh, he's from France. That's awesome. Dude's last name is like something Kov. You know what I mean? Like he's from
He's
Russia.
from
right.
Russia.
He's like, all right, he's from France. No, he lives in France. He's from Russia. And Russia's so good, man. They were ahead by I think 97 points. They won the
Oh,
world
after day
championship
one,
this
it
year.
was
Mhm.
ridiculous. It
This
was
year was
over.
a landslide. Last year was like, okay, like we lost. We took second. The year before that, of course, USA won. Great. Snyder, the GOAT, getting it done. But dude, the this year was a landslide. And Kazakhstan took second because they're close to Dagestan
Right.
Well,
geographically.
dude, wrestling is over there is just different. Like I think we were talking about this earlier, like a couple weeks ago. We were talking about that flow video, the 2011 Russian Nationals highlights, and it's just like,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
what is
It's
going
ridiculous,
on?
man. And they're
Golden girl
young too.
after
That's the other
third.
part
Oh,
too.
it's
Like they got so much young talent. It's like it's ridiculous, and they start
so
them
deep.
off over there like super young and stuff. And
Yeah.
just if you look at their training, like how they train their youth compared to how we train our youth over here, is like polar opposites. You know what I mean? They're training them for war, and we're like, yeah, we're just getting ready for you guys to compete over here. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, Jimmy, love the sport. And they're like, you'll do this. Like
right,
I
it's
really do
different.
wish though that other countries could like experience folk style because everyone's so ingrained to wrestle freestyle or Greco.
Yeah.
Folk style
Right.
is a straight up test, like combining all of it in establishing control and mat
Hmm.
wrestling more often. I mean, you get taken down, you just get to chill out down there for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you're defending
Right.
turns, but
Yeah. It's a more explosive and rest type of wrestling. And
oh
you get
yeah,
breaks in between periods. Come on.
Right.
um,
That's true.
no, but I think folk style wrestling also transitions into MMA way better. The top control, the getting out from bottom,
100%.
wrist control, riding, and the different
Conditioning,
combinations.
cardio.
Well, laser that foreground
Absolutely.
of learning jujitsu too,
Hmm.
makes the easy transition. You're familiar with those kind of positions and areas like, oh, I probably can't do this.
Yeah, and you see the way that Askren fights and the way he's so comfortable in all of those transitions between top, bottom, and in between,
It's high
right?
level wrestling going straight
Right.
into other forms of combat sports.
Yeah, and he knows what you're gonna do before you do. He's like, "Oh, that's cute," and then here you go. It's insane. It's insane. He's two or three steps ahead of you mentally. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's
Crazy.
So did we?
yeah. I mean, we covered all the fights, and that's
Dude, Gaethje Ferguson. That is as one of the best fights I've seen. Just
I
one of the
think
best performances by Gaethje and improvement wise.
right.
He's a real
I
threat
think
to anybody.
I can honestly say, just as a fan of UFC, this card was well deserved for all of us.
Oh
Despite the
yeah,
100%.
conditions that we're in right now, that was an amazing card, and I feel
oh
like
yeah,
We're getting
there's going to
robbed
be
of a
even.
potential
I do feel like
prominent.
there's going to be even better cards coming soon. So
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
believe that.
No,
Believe
yeah, I
that.
can't
I
wait.
mean, we're already getting robbed of the possibility of seeing our boys, Milwaukee Bucks, and LeBron going off for Kobe making the NBA Finals. That may not happen, but that was my guess of what we had going on. But
Uh-huh.
so it's
Right.
just good to get something back out here for the people to watch. Everybody needs sports back
100%.
desperately.
And there's some good UFC cards coming up. I'm glad that they've started back. Hopefully Bellator will join and get
Mhm.
going as well, so we can watch some of those fights.
Did we
And
see the pay-per-view numbers from?
I tried to look it up. So what they're saying so far, I don't think they've released them yet. The gate was 0, right?
That was hilarious when he did the post. The gate and attendance were both 0.
No, I think the pay-per-view was they're very happy with it. I think it was double what the last 3 pay-per-views did or something like that. It was crazy. It wasn't
Wow.
it wasn't like maybe not the last 3 pay-per-views. Maybe they're including fight nights in that or something. I don't think it was bigger than like a McGregor card would be, but I think that it did very, very well.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up an article real quick, see if there's any numbers getting thrown around in it.
Yeah, I looked into it a little bit. I didn't find anything, but
Yeah,
dude, great to have it back.
it's great to have it back.
So Gaethje Khabib, who you put your money on?
It's Khabib time, Pat.
You think so?
You know what? Just because the momentum and just observing, I gotta go with Gaethje, man.
Oh,
I feel like he's gonna keep Khabib guessing if he hits hard and well, the question is gonna be this, and we didn't really get a chance to see it during the Ferguson fight, but his wrestling is how his wrestling is overall, right? How his wrestling, like how we were mentioning earlier about his defense. If he can get takedowns, like we know he's strong, right? So I feel like that's gonna be probably an advantage, but we'll just have to see, right? I guess it's just one of those we have to see. But I feel like Gaethje has a lot of momentum now. He has probably a lot more. He has a lot more confidence now, like in his camp. You know what I mean? And you know, confidence takes you a long way. You know what I mean? You feel like in your head you can do something. You know, usually it can happen. But Khabib's just something else, right? So we haven't really seen Khabib like get pressured or anything either. So
right.
Or you know, he just choke out Conor McGregor in front of half the world and almost start World War III after the fight's over.
right? You know,
You were pretty much ready for anything at that
He
point.
jumped out of that cage, made Dylan Dennis famous, and got fined a lot of money.
Oh my god,
dude!
Dylan
No,
Dennis.
I completely agree with you. I think Gaethje's got a lot of momentum. The thing that hits me is Gaethje's really going to have to show off his wrestling credentials in this fight,
right.
obviously, right?
Stopping the takedown.
Because when people say they wrestle with Khabib and it's like he's 185, they say he's got more pressure than most middleweights that they wrestle with, and it's like I know he cuts a lot of weight and he comes down a lot in weight, but the dude is strong and the dude is really good. Dude's really good at wrestling, really really good at wrestling, and it's going to be interesting to see how Gaethje handles that. But on the feet, Khabib's striking is good, and it's made even better by the fact that people worry about the takedowns. But Gaethje on his feet is wow. He's hot, and he hits like a truck. So
that's
it'll be
the thing
interesting
too, man. Like we've seen Khabib get clipped in other fights before, like namely like Michael Johnson and Edson Barboza. I mean, there was definitely times where they were both able to land shots on Khabib, but do either one of them have the kind of power that Gaethje does in his hands?
Right.
It's a big question, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Gaethje's wrestling is going to get tested, and Khabib's chin's going to get tested.
Yeah,
I think
that's
It's a good matchup. It's a good test.
That's a definite. It's a definite. Definite thing that's going to happen, and I think that's one that probably goes closer to 5 rounds. And so if Gaethje manages his energy like he did against Ferguson, maybe keeps it standing or as much as he can against Khabib, right? Because that's not easy.
Yeah.
But if he manages his energy like he did against Ferguson, I like his chances a lot.
Right.
This is another thing too. We were talking about how Gaethje was pushing that pressure forward. That is not going to be the case in this next fight. Khabib, you know what I mean? Khabib is going to be coming out there, closing the distance, and looking for that takedown right away.
Right.
And I just think it's gonna be interesting to see whose gas tank lasts longer too, in my opinion. Probably because in Russia the elevation's higher and the air's thinner. I'm guessing Khabib, right?
So he's naturally producing more red cells.
Yeah.
But
and dude, it's easy to rest. It's easier to rest on top. You guys
Gaethje's in
know
Colorado though too.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's the elevation
Right, we'll
change at
see.
there? Come on, man.
Hey, like
Okay,
I said, man, vodka runs through their veins over there, so it doesn't make a difference.
So one last thing, who do you think Connor's going to fight if you had to put your money on one of the different options? Is it Nate? Is it Khabib? Maybe Poirier, Masvidal?
I think I'm going to go with Poirier or Masvidal.
I'm
Really?
going with
You're gonna
I'm
throw
going with
Poirier in there?
Masvidal because I just think that's where the money's at, right? And that's where I think the UFC would really want for views, right? Probably for the
Mhm.
BMF title too. So it would just be a lot, like drama between the two because they're both gonna be talking crap the whole time. So,
Yeah,
and it's probably gonna be a slugfest too. So it's just something I think for the fans, and I think that's just where it would be smart at for, as far as profits for the UFC. But I think the
it is
question is
good.
more like the real question
What
is,
weight is
will
he going to
McGregor
go?
come back down to 155 or not? That's
Yeah.
that's the real question.
And that's what I
And I
think
think
too. Is like if he picks to go 55, he wants that rematch with Khabib, so you might as well go down and do a tune-up fight at 55 before he takes that fight. You know what I
right.
mean?
Well, who
Yeah,
knows?
that's
I feel like a
a good point.
tune-up fight would probably be with Ferguson, right? In a way,
Or Poirier. Him and
or
Poirier haven't
Poirier,
had that rematch yet. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
right?
saying. Poirier can make a
But
lot
then,
of sense.
like, and here's the question too: is like, well, does Poirier deserve a rematch with Gaethje now? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They were jabbing at each
I think
other.
Gaethje's ready for Khabib. I don't know if they give Gaethje anybody but Khabib. I mean, he threw the interim title down and said, "I'll wait for the real one." Give
Right.
that man a title shot.
But I'm serious though. Like, and they were jabbing at each other and sitting there. Like, how is Dustin? Connor was like, "How is Dustin ranked higher than me or whatever?" I slept
Yeah,
that Hulu in 90 seconds.
yeah. I think Poirier's in the conversation. Maybe not a lot of people are talking about it, but I think that's a
But I
that's a
guess if it was
possibility.
straight money purposes, though, I could probably see Masvidal.
Well, the other thing is that you have to keep in mind Masvidal's brand might or his stock might drop if they do give him that title shot because I think he'll lose to Usman. You know,
You think?
yeah, he's going to lose to
You
Usman, right?
know, you
So
know.
so he loses to Usman. Now he's not as attractive as an opponent to Connor. He's not making as much money because he's not the same.
Yeah.
He doesn't carry the same value. So it's like if they're going to do Connor Masvidal, they should do it.
What's the thing though? Do you think Conor wants to fight for a BMF fake title, or do you think he wants to
Yes.
fight for that around Khabib?
Yeah,
Yes. I think he does.
How many
That's
times have we
more
heard
the
Dana
money
say
title, man. If anything. So
right?
yeah.
And that fight against Khabib would be way bigger money than any money that would be brought in by him and Masvidal too.
That is true. That is the
that's
biggest fight to
true.
make is Connor Khabib. But you can't make Connor Khabib right now because you got to make Gaethje Khabib.
Oh no,
Yeah,
100%. That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying I think he should be going back down 55.
dude, it'd be so interesting to see if this is. I don't know if this is my first pick. Yeah, it might be my first pick. My first. No, I don't know.
Spit it
Okay,
out, John.
spit it out, John. Gaethje beats Khabib. Connor fights Gaethje.
Beats Gagey.
Winner of that fights Khabib again.
Right.
Well, seriously though,
Yeah,
he should get an immediate rematch, and he probably would. He'd probably demand it if he did lose hypothetically to Gaethje.
Khabib.
Yeah,
Well, how would but
it's his first loss.
right? But how does he lose? You know what I mean? Does he get KO'd?
I
Like you
think
would give Aldo a rematch if McGregor didn't knock him out in 13 seconds. You would
yeah,
give Woodley a rematch if he didn't get out wrestled the entire fight. So it depends on how he loses, but I agree with
it is
you.
true.
Yeah,
It is
but I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I think that's all we got for you guys today.
Yeah,
This is our first episode. We hope you guys continue to stay tuned. We got a long list of guests from all different backgrounds of combat sports that are looking to come on the show and provide a lot of information, stories, and just background material that a lot of people don't get to see from behind the scenes. So hope you
100%.
guys stay tuned and look forward to giving you guys more shows.
Oh yeah, first of many, right?
All right, first of May, and I'll tell you what, it's gonna be real exciting. We have a lot, like you said, we have a lot of fun guests coming on with a lot of big names. Um, it's gonna be exciting just to see the coverage and watching the sport grow and us covering it, right? So
Like
100%.
I say, we keep in touch on social media. If you guys have questions you guys want us to ask guests, if you guys want people on the show, we love to hear feedback too. So
That's a great point. Follow us on Instagram, The Ugly Year,
at Uglier.
at Ugly
that
Year, and
year,
Facebook, same thing. Do we have a Twitter page yet?
We do not have
We
a
do
Twitter
not,
page yet.
not yet.
not
But
yet.
follow us on Twitter by the time this episode's up.
Right.
And yeah, we'll do a lot of interaction with the fans. We'll probably have fan questions you guys can ask. So I'm excited. It's gonna be good.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks
All
for
right,
tuning in, guys.
take it easy and
Stay safe out there. COVID free.
Oh yeah, COVID
Right.
free.
Wash your hands.